The timer hit 0. Then my neighbor collapsed. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just stood there, staring at my laptop screen as the red digits faded out, 00000000, and the sound of something heavy hitting the floor echoed through the thin apartment wall beside me. For a second, I honestly thought it was a coincidence. It had to be. Some sick cosmic timing between a glitchy little website and an old man's heart finally giving out. Except, when I refreshed the page, the name wasn't mine anymore. It said his. Confirmed. That word stayed on the screen for a full minute before disappearing, leaving behind nothing but a white void and the faint reflection of my face, pale, sweating, eyes wide enough to hurt. I remember thinking, what the hell kind of prank is this? Because that's what it was supposed to be, a prank. A cheap death clock generator I'd found on some throwaway subreddit that promised to predict the exact moment you'd die. There are hundreds of those things floating around. You type in your name, maybe your birthday, and some dumb algorithm spits out a random date meant to freak you out. Except this one. This one knew my full name before I even typed it. It greeted me. Like it was waiting. Welcome back, first name, last name. Your time remaining, years, 0 months, 0 days, 0 hours. I laughed when I first saw it. One of those nervous, disbelieving laughs you make when something feels off but you can't explain why. I thought maybe I'd been hacked, maybe it pulled data from social media or something. That was before the knock on my wall, before the thud, before the silence that followed like a held breath. When the police came, I didn't tell them about the site. How could I? Hi, officer. Yeah. There's this cursed countdown on my laptop that predicted my neighbor's death to the second. Right, straight to a psych evaluation. But here's the thing, I checked again that night. The timer was back. Only this time it had reset. 3 days, 14 hours, 17 minutes. And right below it, a new line of text flickered on. You saw it happen, that makes you next. That's when the dread really set in. Not panic, not fear, dread. The kind that coils up in your gut and just stays there, heavy and cold, whispering things like, what if it's real? I shut the laptop, but the afterimage of those red numbers burned behind my eyelids. I told myself it was a coincidence, a hallucination, stress, anything that didn't involve supernatural websites assigning people expiration dates. Still, I didn't sleep. Every little noise from the wall next door made me flinch. They said my neighbor's cause of death was cardiac arrest. Natural, no signs of foul play. But how do you explain a website that updates with his name seconds before it happens? The next morning I tried to search for it again, just to prove to myself it wasn't real, but every trace was gone. No cached results, no old Reddit posts, nothing. The URL led to an error page, server not found. That should have been the end of it. I wish it was. Because later that night, when I finally opened my laptop again, it was just there. The same white page. The same timer. Ticking down from exactly where it left off. And underneath it, a blinking message box. Would you like to know who's next? I should have closed it. I should have smashed the damn thing right then. But curiosity does strange things when you're afraid. You start to think knowing the truth will make it safer somehow. It doesn't. I clicked yes. And that's when everything started unraveling. But I should probably start from the beginning. 3 days earlier, I thought it was just another dumb website. It started like most bad decisions do, late at night, half awake and bored out of my mind. I was on my 3rd cup of instant coffee, the kind that tastes faintly like cardboard and regret, scrolling through Reddit threads that all bled together. Weirdest things found online. Creepy websites you shouldn't visit. Internet rabbit holes that ruined my sleep schedule. I'd seen them all before. Most were just urban legends recycled by people chasing karma, stories about webcams turning on by themselves, numbers that call you back, or sites that promise to show you your soulmate but end up mining your data. The usual digital campfire crap. Still, I clicked, because that's what you do when you're tired enough to mistake curiosity for purpose. Somewhere buried in a thread about lost web domains was a comment that stood out. The account that posted it had been deleted, classic Reddit mystery bait, but the message was still there. If you see it, don't refresh. Death date EA. Underneath it, a few replies. Fake. Nice try, creep. And then one that made me pause. You're not supposed to find it twice. I hovered over the link for a good 30 seconds, debating. I even copied it into Notepad first, like that would somehow protect me if it turned out to be malware. Curiosity won, obviously. It always does. The site loaded faster than I expected. A plain white background, one centered text box, and a heading in pixelated black font. Find out when you'll die. No ads, no pop-ups, no flashy design, just that. It was almost disappointing. I typed a fake name first, John Doe. The site froze for half a second, then spat out a line of text. Your time remaining. Years, 0 months, 1 days, 2 hours. She won't hear the sirens. Weird, right? Not scary, just oddly specific. I chuckled, refreshed the page, tried another name. Elon Musk. The countdown changed again, this time paired with. He will choke on silence. All right, so whoever made it had a flair for melodrama. Maybe it just generated random phrases. I was ready to close the tab, but then I noticed something strange. Each time I refreshed, the timer didn't reset properly. It kept progressing. The numbers were counting down, second by second, even though I hadn't entered anything new. That shouldn't have happened. Out of curiosity, I opened Developer Tools, expecting some basic JavaScript countdown script. Instead, I saw dozens of hidden data strings, usernames, IP fragments, timestamps. Most were gibberish, but a few were unmistakably real names. A chill crept up my spine, but I told myself it had to be a trick, some kind of database prank or scraped text from public profiles. Still, the unease lingered. And that's when I did something stupid. I typed my real name. For a moment, the page didn't respond at all. The cursor blinked against the white background, mocking me. Then the screen flickered, once, twice, before lines of code began to scroll upward on their own. Authenticating. Welcome back, my full name. I froze. I hadn't used that name anywhere online in years. Not the full version, not spelled that way. Before I could back out, the page glitched again and loaded a picture. My picture. It wasn't even one I'd uploaded recently. It was an old Facebook profile photo I'd deleted years ago. Me at 19. Smirking awkwardly in a hoodie I hadn't worn since college. For a second, I actually thought I was dreaming. That's how surreal it felt, watching a forgotten version of myself appear on a blank website like some ghostly mirror. Then the countdown appeared underneath. Years, 0 months, 3 days, 14 hours. No extra phrase this time. No, she won't hear the sirens, just the time. Ticking down. I stared at it until my screen dimmed, tried to refresh. Nothing. The timer just kept going, second by second, quiet but relentless. I checked the console again, hoping it would show some reference point, a local script, anything. But the network log was blank. It wasn't pulling data from anywhere. It was just running. That's when I noticed something else. At the bottom of the browser, the padlock icon next to the URL had changed. It wasn't a normal HTTPS lock anymore. It looked like a small, black hourglass. When I hovered over it, a message popped up. Connection secured, for now. I should have closed the tab right then, but my brain kept rationalizing. Maybe someone was spoofing my IP. Maybe it was an elaborate ARG, some viral marketing stunt. I even laughed out loud, one of those forced, shaky laughs that feel like trying to convince yourself you're okay. But the longer I watched those numbers fall, the heavier the silence got. That's the thing about countdowns. You always think you have time until you don't. I didn't know yet what the timer meant. Not really. All I knew was that it was mine. The timer said, years 0 months, 3 days, 14 hours. The first day, I told myself I wasn't going to check it again. I even made a whole performance out of it, shut the laptop, went out for groceries, called a friend I hadn't spoken to in months. You know, normal stuff. I kept telling myself that it was just an elaborate ARG, that somewhere out there, a team of sleep-deprived game devs was laughing at how invested I'd gotten in their death prediction experience. But every few hours I'd catch myself glancing at the clock, subtracting time, doing the math. 3 days, 14 hours. By the second night, the thought had burrowed deep enough that I couldn't sleep. I opened my laptop just to prove it was gone. It was. The page was still there, identical in every way except one. The timer had updated perfectly to the second. No refresh, no cookies, no visible data stored. It knew exactly how much time had passed since I'd last looked. That's when the unease turned into something heavier. I started digging. Reddit, old forums, archived threads. At first, I found nothing but dead links, posts deleted by mods, comments wiped by their users. Then I stumbled onto a capture from an old image board dated 5 years ago. A user had posted screenshots of the same site. Same design, same white background. Different name, deathclock.net. Most of the replies were the usual mockery, but one, halfway down the thread, caught my eye. It's real. My timer ended last night. My brother's funeral is tomorrow. That was followed by a string of timestamps, and the last comment simply read, post deleted, user inactive. I wanted to believe it was fake, but more and more threads started popping up in my searches, fragments of conversations where people mentioned countdowns, reflections that don't match, the knock before the time runs out. It all sounded ridiculous, but one line kept showing up over and over. You don't get to choose whose timer you see. The next morning, I was making coffee when my phone buzzed. A push notification from an old group chat. Someone had posted a link to a news article. Man found dead in apartment building, suspected heart attack. I froze when I saw the address. It was my building. The guy next door. The one who'd collapsed the night the timer hit 0. My stomach dropped. I went straight back to my laptop. The page loaded instantly, like it had been waiting. The numbers continued their quiet descent. 1 day, 19 hours, 43 minutes. I laughed out loud. That was my first mistake. It wasn't a real laugh, more like the kind that forces its way out of your throat because the alternative is screaming. Nice trick, I said to the empty room, really subtle. Then the text on the page flickered, just once, and a new line appeared beneath the countdown. Not a trick. My pulse spiked. The cursor blinked under those words like an open eye. I slammed the laptop shut and sat there, breathing hard. When I finally gathered the courage to open it again, the extra text was gone. The timer hadn't budged. That day, everything started feeling off. Every reflection looked slightly delayed, as if my movements were being echoed by someone lagging a few frames behind. My phone screen would light up without a notification. My camera app opened by itself once, only for the image to stutter and show an empty chair where I should have been sitting. Coincidences, glitches. I kept repeating those words like a mantra. That night I went back online, hoping to find anyone still talking about the site. Eventually, buried in a Discord archive, I found a user named Nosleep who claimed to have seen the countdown too. We chatted for hours. He said the timer didn't predict your death, it predicted the death you'd witness. I wanted to ask what he meant, but his messages stopped mid-sentence. His account vanished right in front of me, profile deleted, chat history gone. That's when my laptop fan kicked on by itself. The screen flickered, dimmed, and then a single phrase appeared across the white page. "We're watching the wrong person." I stared at it, heart pounding. "What does that mean?" I whispered, even though I knew no one could hear me. Then, as if in response, the text changed again. "Correcting error." The timer froze, every digit turned red. And then just as quickly it started again, only now the numbers were lower, much lower. 4 hours, 17 minutes, 29 seconds. I panicked, slammed the lid down, pulled the plug, even ripped out the Wi-Fi dongle that would somehow stop it. I sat there, packing, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. After about an hour, I opened the laptop again. The site was gone, just a blank white page with a single blinking cursor. I almost let myself believe it was over. Then I heard a soft ping from my phone, a notification from an unknown sender. No text, no image, just a link. Death date EA. I didn't click it. Not yet. But I could see the preview text below the link, faint but readable. Countdown complete. Confirm recipient. My throat went dry. I looked at the laptop, the phone, the clock on the wall. Everything seemed to pulse in unison, like the world had synced to that invisible rhythm. I couldn't take it anymore. I clicked the link. The site loaded instantly, no delay, no error message this time. And there it was. My name. My photo. And underneath, years, 0 month, 0 days, 0 hours, 0 seconds. When I refreshed the page, my countdown had changed to 0 seconds. When the timer hit 0, I expected something. A sound, a blackout, a heart attack, anything. But nothing happened. The page didn't vanish. No jump scare. No cryptic message. Just that same sterile white background, my name, my photo, and a neat row of zeros frozen like a stopped clock. I stared for a long time. I remember laughing again, but this time it sounded wrong. The kind of laugh that comes from exhaustion, not humor. "Guess you lied," I muttered to the screen. The relief that followed felt earned, like I'd beaten it, like I'd stared into the void and the void had blinked first. I closed the laptop. I even went outside for the first time in days, just walked, breathing in the cold night air, trying to remember what real life felt like. Then I saw the flashing red lights. Police cars, ambulance, 2 streets down from my building. I almost didn't go closer, but the crowd was already gathering, the way people always do when tragedy, within walking distance. There was a stretcher, a woman crying. Someone whispered that a man had collapsed walking home from work, no visible injuries, just dropped dead mid-step. I don't know why I looked at my phone. Habit, maybe. It was 10:14 p.m. The exact time my countdown had reached 0. I stood there, frozen, as something cold began crawling up my spine. I told myself it was coincidence. It had to be. But even as I walked back home, every rational part of my brain felt like it was shrinking away from something it didn't want to admit. When I finally opened my laptop again, the page had changed. The photo was gone. The timer was gone. In their place was a single line of text. "Your death was transferred." I just stared at it, my pulse thudding in my ears. Transferred. Transferred to who? I refreshed the page, nothing changed. I checked the console, inspected the code, even disconnected the Wi-Fi to see if it was cached locally. The site still loaded. That shouldn't have been possible. The phrase glared back at me from the white void, so clean and deliberate it almost felt smug. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I kept searching. Forums, deep archives, Discord backups, anywhere that still mentioned the site. The deeper I went, the more pieces I found, fragments of screenshots, half-deleted confessions, bits of chat logs where people described the same thing. Their timer hit 0. Someone else died. And then a new message appeared. Transfer complete. One post hit me hard, a user who claimed the site wasn't predicting your death at all. It was assigning them, balancing them. Like load sharing, they wrote. A cosmic algorithm ensuring equilibrium. Someone replied, then what happens if you refuse to take your turn? No one ever answered. The next morning, the guilt set in. What if that man's death, the stranger 2 streets away, wasn't random? What if the site had chosen him because I didn't shut it down when I should have? What if it had chosen instead of me? I tried deleting my browser history, flushing the DNS, nuking every trace of it. But when I restarted the computer, the same message blinked back onto the screen as soon as I opened Chrome. Transfer logged. Awaiting reassignment. I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't want to. That day, I jumped at every noise. My reflection seemed too still. My phone camera kept trying to autofocus on something behind me. By evening, I couldn't take it. I went back online to Reddit, to anywhere that might still have people talking about this. That's when I found them. A private thread titled, "The Ones Who Lived." Most of the accounts were throwaways, but their stories matched mine almost word for word. One user described hearing a soft click in their phone speaker just before someone in their town died. Another said they saw their own photo replaced by a stranger's on the site. And then there was one message, posted just an hour before I found the thread. The site learns. It pairs users by proximity, by data, by connection. If you're online, you're already linked. That was followed by a GPS coordinate. My city. Before I could scroll further, the thread locked itself. All posts deleted. And then my laptop fan roared to life. The screen flickered. The same sterile white page appeared again, unprompted, not through any link or tab. At the top it read, "Reassignment in progress." The countdown reappeared, shorter this time, just hours. Then something new, a second name, faint gray text below mine. Someone I'd never heard of. A woman. From the same city. I tried everything, closed the browser, yanked the power, even smashed the Wi-Fi router on the floor. But when I rebooted, the site was still there. The other name had vanished. Only mine remained. And underneath, a new line. Confirmed, connection stable. That was when I understood this wasn't random. It wasn't predicting death. It was assigning it. Each of us was part of some invisible chain, one life handed over for another, like an algorithm redistributing a burden no one asked to share. And I'd already taken someone's turn. I should have closed the site then. Instead, I logged in. I didn't sleep again after that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the timer. Those shrinking digits burned into my eyelids like a brand. I told myself I'd delete it all, wipe the drive, start over. But part of me couldn't stop thinking about the message, reassignment in progress. If the site was assigning death, maybe there was a way to see how. So I reached out to the only person I knew who might help, Mitch. We met years ago in an IRC chatroom where people traded stories about lost media and haunted code. Mitch wasn't a hacker in the Hollywood sense. He was quiet, cautious, but he had a way of seeing through digital walls. I hadn't spoken to him in months. I messaged him at 3 a.m. "Hey, you ever heard of Death Date EO?" He responded 8 minutes later. "Yeah, don't touch it." I told him everything, the timer, the transfers, the second name. For a while, there was nothing but typing dots, and then, "If what you're saying's real, that's not a site, that's a system." He sent me a zipped file with a single Python script. "Run this locally. It'll sniff outgoing packets and spoof a backend request. Shouldn't trace you if you're careful." I wasn't careful. When I ran the script, my screen went black for 3 seconds, then filled with a grid of white text, lines of code, server pings, mirrored directories. It looked like gibberish until I saw the header. Users live. Each entry had an ID number, a location ping, and 2 columns. Countdown and status. Some read 00000000 fulfilled. Others said 02-1437-15 transfer ready. There were hundreds, maybe thousands, IP addresses from everywhere: Japan, Brazil, Germany, my own city. At the very top, bolded in a darker shade of white, was a single entry. User 0001 admin countdown, infinite. And near the bottom, my own IP address. User 1743 my name, countdown, 00000000 transfer logged. My hands were shaking. I clicked one random entry, a user in Italy labeled transfer ready. A second tab opened automatically, showing a blurred photo and GPS data. The timer ticked down to under 3 hours. I minimized it fast, but not before noticing a headline from a local Italian news site in another tab. A car accident, timestamp 3 hours later. Coincidence? No. Every fulfilled status I checked lined up with a real death, exact times, matching coordinates. Thousands of them perfectly synchronized. And someone or something was tracking all of it in real time. I called Mitch, no answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. When he finally messaged, his text was short, jagged. Get out, this isn't just code. What do you mean? I typed. There's no server, it's distributed, peer-based. If you accessed it, it's already mirrored through you. Then another message, just one word. Run. And then he was gone, account deleted. I checked his handle on Discord, on Signal, everywhere, all gone. Not offline, gone. I stared at the backend page, paralyzed. My own entry was flickering now, the text stuttering like corrupted pixels. Then the font shifted, the label changed. User 1743, transfer ready. No, 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 I whispered, hammering the keyboard, trying to shut it down. Every time I closed the tab, another window spawned. Hundreds, each one showing my IP in a different format, different ports. My camera light blinked on. For a second, I thought it was just a glitch, until I saw my own reflection in the black monitor, and behind me, a faint silhouette flickering like static. I slammed the laptop shut and ripped the power cord out. The apartment fell silent, except for my heartbeat. When I opened the laptop again, the desktop background had changed. A white screen, no browser open, no icons, just text in the center. Connection maintained. I yanked the Ethernet cable and turned off Wi-Fi completely, but the words stayed. I remember packing the room, whispering to myself, trying to reason through it. Maybe it was some malware, something Mitch's script triggered. Maybe this wasn't supernatural. Maybe it was just tech I didn't understand. But then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. You shouldn't have looked. I froze. The message came through a secure channel, no visible sender, no metadata. A second text followed, identical to the one on my screen. Connection maintained. I tried calling back. No dial tone, just faint breathing and then a sound that didn't belong on a phone line, like a digital echo of a whisper. Then silence. When I finally reopened the laptop, the backend had changed again. The list was gone. Only a single directory remained. Hidden. I clicked it before I could think. Only one file inside. Root sequence log. I opened it. It wasn't code, it was a transcript. Dozens of usernames, each with the same short line beneath. Fulfilled via transfer chain. Each one timestamped within seconds of another. A web of death spanning years, overlapping, recursive, impossibly organized. At the very bottom was one final line. Admin observing. And then one new addition appeared live, Right before my eyes, the cursor blinking beside it as if typed by invisible hands. User 1743, transfer pending. My own entry. And just before the text faded, another name appeared below mine, the same one that had vanished from my countdown before. Her name. The woman from my city. Then the screen went black again. When it came back, I was logged out. And when I reopened it, my countdown was gone. When the countdown vanished, I didn't feel relief. I felt erased. It was like watching a guillotine blade rise and realizing it never stopped hanging over you. It just went invisible. At first, I tried to convince myself it was over. I told myself I'd broken something in the code, that the connection was dead, that maybe Mitch's warning had been overblown. But the silence that followed wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence that waits. My laptop wouldn't boot normally anymore. It went straight to a white screen, no cursor, no icons, just a faint gray message in the corner. Your slot has been filled. I didn't know what that meant. Was I free or replaced? I unplugged everything, hard drive, router, even the monitor. I bought a new laptop. Fresh, sealed, untouched. I didn't log into anything, not even Wi-Fi. The first time I turned it on, it asked me to sign in to my account, except it already had my name filled in. I hadn't typed it. Sleep became optional. My nights were spent scouring threads, private forums, and the digital graveyards where banned topics go to rot. That's how I found others, or what was left of them. Cached copies of posts, scraped fragments, each one written by someone describing the same sequence I'd lived through, countdowns, transfers, back in files. Every one of them ended the same way. Then my timer disappeared. Then my slot was filled. And after that, nothing. Their accounts deleted, profiles wiped clean. Even their usernames turned to random strings of numbers like tombstones in binary. I tried messaging one survivor who had posted just hours before. His handle was at @deadpacket. The reply came immediately. You're late. Then another. Your chain's already closed. Before I could respond, the account vanished. That's when the hallucinations started, or maybe they weren't hallucinations. Notifications popped up on my phone with phrases I hadn't typed, echoes of my own thoughts written out before I could finish thinking them. I should have listened. It's still watching. I'm next. I factory reset the phone twice. The messages kept appearing, even with no SIM card. And every time I passed a reflective surface, my laptop screen, the microwave door, the window at night, my reflection lagged. Just slightly, like a frame behind reality. There was one night I remember too clearly. I was sitting in the dark, the only light coming from the monitor I swore I'd unplugged, when it flickered on by itself. The same message, but rewritten. Your slot has been filled. Awaiting confirmation. It didn't say who was confirming it. For a moment, I almost laughed. Turns out you can't uninstall Fate. So I went nuclear. Deleted every account I'd ever made. Burned old drives in the sink. Smashed my phone until it was just glass and regret. But when I borrowed my neighbor's laptop to check the news, the same site appeared in his browser history. Death date year. The tab name. One connection maintained. My name was still there. That's when I stopped pretending this was digital. This wasn't about code, it was about presence. Something intelligent enough to mimic logic, but too vast to care about it. An algorithm that didn't just predict death, it balanced it. Moved it, fed on it. And now I was part of the equation. I tried staying offline. No devices, no light, just silence. But the silence began whispering too. I'd hear typing sounds from the unplugged keyboard, the faint click of a mouse, my phone lighting up even though the battery had been dead for days. Each time a new notification appeared. Transfer confirmed. User replacement successful. You've been archived. Archived. Not dead. Not alive. Just stored. I remember standing in front of the mirror one morning and realizing something impossible. My reflection wasn't blinking. That was the breaking point. I started recording myself, setting up cameras to prove I was still me. Every time I played the footage back, the audio contained whispers reversed, glitched, repeating the same fragments over and over. Your slot has been filled. Your slot has been filled. And somewhere in between those phrases, quieter, layered beneath. But not yet processed. That word chilled me more than anything else. Processed. Like I wasn't even a person anymore, just data waiting in a queue. I think that's when I stopped being sure whether I was still alive. Days passed, or maybe hours. My apartment felt stretched, wrong, as if time had started buffering. Sometimes I'd catch the faint scent of burnt circuits or ozone, like a machine trying too hard to breathe. I stopped eating. I stopped going outside. Every attempt to disconnect only looped me further in. Every wall I built became another mirrored surface for it to look through. One morning my screen turned on by itself again. The white page, empty except for one line of text. You're still here. I didn't type back, I just stared. The cursor blinked. Then new text began to appear, letter by letter. We filled your slot, but you didn't leave. Now we need to make room. And then the screen glitched, half white, half static, before showing a split view. A live stream window on the right and text scrolling on the left. The live stream was dark at first, just vague movement, grainy pixels. Then I saw it. A familiar room. My room. And a figure sitting at my desk, typing. Only I was. The live stream window filled my entire screen. Title live, my full name. No thumbnail, no description, just a black background and a viewer count ticking upward by the hundreds. I didn't click it, it just opened. The chat was already alive, a blur of usernames and emojis. It's happening again. Another transfer. Dude, look at the timestamp, it's the same as before. Every few seconds, a moderator message popped up. Do not refresh, stream resets the link. My heart was a hammer in my chest. The countdown had returned, now burned into the top right corner of the video. 00000259. 3 minutes. The feed flickered once, then came into focus. My room. Not a room that looked like mine, my room. The crooked shelf, the cracked blinds, the half-empty coffee mug I hadn't touched in days. Except I wasn't there. At least not yet. The chat was losing its mind. Bro, he doesn't even know he's live. Is this pre-recorded? Look, the clock synced to his. Someone donated $5. The message flashed across the screen. If you're watching this stream, don't refresh. My hands were shaking. I covered the webcam. Didn't matter. The stream still showed my desk from a different angle, one I didn't even have a camera for. 0201. I tried shutting the laptop. The stream didn't stop. The sound kept playing, a faint, rhythmic tapping like fingers on keys. I unplugged it. The battery should have died. The screen stayed on. 0120. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Smile for them. I dropped it. The chat exploded again, emojis, skulls, cheering. He got the message. Countdown baby, let's go. There were thousands of viewers now. I could see usernames I recognized from the old threads, people I thought had vanished. Some even had tags like fulfilled beside their names. 0045. The camera in the feed was shifting slightly now, like something was breathing behind it. The image warped at the edges, the pixels bending inward as if being pulled toward a center that wasn't there. And then I saw movement. Something stepped into frame. It looked like me. But wrong. The posture off, the face blurred, movements jerky, like an old recording trying to imitate real life. The chat flooded. There he is. He's synced. Transfer complete incoming. 0012. I could hear breathing that wasn't mine. It came through the speakers and from behind me at the same time, like the sound was folding reality in half. 0008. I grabbed the laptop, ready to smash it, but then the figure in the stream moved with me. Perfectly. Frame for frame. It lifted the same laptop, same angle. Same breath. 0003. I screamed stop. The chat froze. For a heartbeat, the entire stream paused. Then, one single message appeared at the top. A system notification, highlighted in red. Transfer confirmed. The timer hit 0. Static. A sharp, splitting tone filled the air, too high to be human. My vision went white, my skin cold. I remember the feeling of being stretched thin, like my consciousness was caught between frames of a movie that couldn't decide which scene I belonged in. And then silence. The screen went black. The chat kept moving, though I couldn't read it. Every word blurred together, the letters dissolving into numbers, the numbers into nothing. I thought it was over. But then the stream flickered back on, just for a second. The camera showed my room again. Empty. Only the laptop sat on the desk, screen open, the reflection of someone standing just out of frame. A final message appeared in the chat. He's gone. Then another. Next slot available. The stream cut to black. But someone kept typing my name. I know what you're thinking, I shouldn't be alive. You probably saw the stream, the countdown, the way it ended. Yes, so did I. But here's the thing, it wasn't me. Or maybe it was for a while. It's hard to tell what counts as me anymore. The site gone now. Every link, every mirror, every cached version wiped clean. I checked from public terminals, burner phones, even Tor. Nothing. And yet when I opened my notes app tonight, this file was already here, timestamped for tomorrow. It's titled, Final Upload. So maybe this isn't a warning. Maybe it's just the system finishing what it started. Sometimes I hear the faint static again when my speakers are off. My reflection in dark screens lags half a second behind. And every night, my camera light blinks once at exactly 3:17 a.m. I used to tell myself I was free. That destroying the laptop meant something. But I think maybe that's what it wanted. Maybe that was the upload. If your screen flickered while watching this, comment the exact time. The others said it helps track the pattern. And if the audio starts to distort near the end, don't refresh. That's how it finds new streams. I'm only sharing this because someone has to break the loop. Someone has to. The text glitches. Stream REC1NCTED. User online. Transfer initializing.